I was mad keen about four-wheel driving. Every second of the day I was thinking about four-wheel driving, and 20 years later I am more passionate today than I've ever been about this lifestyle. Yes! Yes! I got my first big break going on a DVD trip. The Dirty 30. It's a tribute to my whole career, that one vehicle. When we made the transition from magazines to YouTube, I thought, you know what, that is me out of the show. If I could be known for giving inspiration to get outside and explore Australia, then I reckon my job's done. I guess for me, it all started with a 1992 Suzuki Sierra. It was a soft top, a wide track. I got that when I was 17 years old, and that opened up a whole world of exploring for me. Now, one thing you need to know about me is I firstly got into fishing before four-wheel driving. So I used that little Suzuki Sierra to get off the beaten track to explore more remote fishing spots. I absolutely fell in love with not just the fishing side of it, but also just exploring and discovering where you could take a four-wheel drive. Now, at the time, I was running in a magazine called Mortgage Professional Australia. It was a mortgage magazine, and I was completely out of my depth, to be honest with you. It was my first writing job, and I learned a heck of a lot, but it certainly wasn't my passion. I mean, I was doing this because it was my first writing job, and you never turn down the first job in the trade. About 6 to 8 months down the track, I see there's a couple of job ads out there. One is for a magazine called Four Wheel Drive Monthly. Some of you guys might have heard about it. Another one was for a magazine called Hot Fours Magazine. Again, a lot of Aussie blokes especially would know that magazine. I applied for both. I got a job offer from Four Wheel Drive Monthly, but it was $5,000 less a year than what I was earning, which wasn't a lot at the time. So that was a huge step down in pay. And I also just started this job in a business magazine. Someone's given me my first go into journalism. I thought, you know, I can't leave this job, but I've thought long and hard about it, and I thought, you know what, you might even get one opportunity at this to follow your passion. So I did it. I quit the job at the business magazine and went for the four-wheel drive magazine. And to be honest, it was the single best decision I've ever made in my life. Oh, this is paradise. When I look back and ask myself the question, what inspired me to choose this as a career, I guess it really stems back from when I was a young bloke, and all that inspiration really came from the TV. People like Malcolm Douglas, I was absolutely obsessed with that guy and his adventures. I found in the library Follow the Sun and Other Journeys. It was this book. I started reading it in the afternoon and read through the whole entire night because I was obsessed with every single word in that book. The long story short is he took a pearl lugger from Broome across the Kimberley, caught a bunch of fish, and lived this crazy remote lifestyle, and I was absolutely hooked. Hook, line and sinker. You know, bringing the real Australia onto the screens for us Aussies to watch. We could watch it in our lounge rooms and see what a crazy country we lived in. It was things like that that inspired me, that I thought, you know, I need to go and see these places for myself. And, you know, I did one better. I was able to build a career doing exactly that. Now, keep in mind, yeah, like I said, it's about 20 years ago. And a lot of you people are thinking, well, how does that transition into what you see today, four-wheel drive 24/7? So Four-Wheel Drive Monthly, it was a monthly publication. All the young folk probably don't even know what a magazine is, but it's a paper thing. You used to read the articles and look at the pictures. It was a monthly magazine, so it came out 12 times a year. That was the big source of, I guess, four-wheel drive information. You couldn't just jump online. Not a lot of resources existed, especially for such a niche passion such as off-roading. And keep in mind, I'm just a young journalist at this stage. I'm writing articles. In fact, I'm doing a mixture of writing the most basic articles in the magazine, as well as washing vehicles and doing general errands in the magazine. So this is like 20 odd years ago. Now, that magazine became extremely popular. In fact, it became the #1 men's magazine in the country. And the one thing that probably led for that to be the case was DVDs were on the front of these magazines. So these DVDs took the magazine to the next level. People could actually watch four-wheel drive adventures. They had a lot of information, but more so, they were entertaining. People liked them. We realised quite quickly that people love the DVDs. They're getting very popular. So we increase the frequency of the magazine. It then goes to 17 times a year. Can't be called a monthly magazine anymore, right? It becomes Four-Wheel Drive Action. That was a hugely popular magazine, probably up until the end of magazines. At the end of the day, Four-Wheel Drive Action has transformed or evolved into four-wheel drive 24/7, and the whole reason behind that is now on YouTube you can get your four-wheel drive content 24/7 whenever you want. It's on demand. If you want to click on a video right now, you can, and that's where I guess the future has taken four-wheel drive media. So if we go back to the four-wheel drive action days, I was a journalist. Now at that time I was probably stuck in the office more than not, doing a lot of articles and writing a lot of content for the magazine, and an opportunity came to go actually on one of these DVD trips. And my very first one I did was down in Coffs Harbour with Roothy. We'll drive me some tough tracks down there, and I was super passionate about it. That's where I really wanted to be. And it wasn't because I wanted to be in front of camera, that was just a bit of a byproduct. The reason why I wanted to do the DVD trips is because I was literally going full driving, camping in some of the best locations in Australia, and better still, I was getting paid for it. I mean, talk about the dream job. Some of the most memorable trips, I started doing a lot with Graham, and these are in the early days. Graham didn't even have grey hair back then. That's how long ago I'm talking about. And one of the first ones he did was an absolute epic with me up in Cape York. Now, I hadn't been to Cape York yet, so you can imagine how excited I was. I'm going to Cape York for the first time. At this stage of my life, I've got a full-bodied 60 series high-top wagon, just like that one right there. It's got some very basic mods on it. Now, I'm so excited to do this trip, right? But it isn't any old Cape York trip. I mean, yes, we're going up to the top to get a photo at the sign, but get this, right? We went up the eastern beaches of Cape York. Some of you guys might remember that. In fact, we didn't even cross the Jardine. We went around the Jardine to get to the tip. Plus, when I actually did go to the tip, I went via a boat. Now, this is my very first time in Cape York, and we did that, and then straight away, we went into the Gulf and into the Northern Territory and filmed a whole one up there where we actually cut our own track in, which into this river system that no four-wheel drive had ever been before. I was on the road for about 6 weeks straight. Talk about the trip of a lifetime. That was absolutely insane. Graham and I still talk about that adventure as one of the best ones we've ever done in our lives. We honestly didn't know if we were going to make it. In fact, my vehicle was just holding on for dear life by the end of it. And in fact, I think I had to leave it at Daly Waters. The transmission had blown up in it, and I had to actually leave it there for about a couple of months until it could get to Darwin and then trucked back home where I lived. So I didn't even make it in my own vehicle, but it was one of those trips of a lifetime. And from that moment, I guess, I knew that this is exactly what I want to do. Not just drive tough tracks and four-wheel drive on a weekend. I wanted to uncover some of the most remote parts of this country and do it with a camera crew so I could show everybody these crazy adventures. Oh man, I'm in, I've got no control. Oh. Not done yet. Graham and I didn't meet for the first time on that Cape York trip that I talked so much about. We met well before that. Now, I was a journalist in the magazine. Graham was a photographer from Western Australia. Now, he had recently just done what they called a long trip in Shorty. It was a magazine article series where himself and his wife went around Australia in a little short wheelbase GQ Patrol. Now, Graham was a photographer, could take a great photo and also could write. I just knew him from a contributor in the magazine. And then when I finally did actually meet him was at a four-wheel drive competition called Tuff Truck. Now we're talking about circa 2007, around about there, maybe 2008. We had a few beers around a campfire, and I guess the rest is history. When you meet someone who shares the same passion as you, it's pretty easy to become good mates. And then we shared many, many adventures, and obviously the rest is history.
Oh no! That is amazing.
Well, you confident?
Not at all. I won't lie to you. We're going to have to fix it.
Be honest, is Graham actually a good driver?
Is Graham actually a good driver? All right, I'll be real with this one. He's not. No, I'm joking. I'm actually joking because Graham is a fantastic driver. I'm not just saying that. He's not around the corner.
If you've got a mate like Shauno, put it in the comments down below.
There you go, guys. You'd be very lucky if you did. A lot of people ask me, did I ever envisage that four-wheel drive 24/7 would be so successful? Now, no, because I guess I'm just doing what I love every day, and I don't really think about the views. That's not why we do it. We do it because we love it, as simple as that. But, you know, I heard a couple of statistics the other day, and it shows that, you know, I'm not alone in being an absolute mad, passionate four-wheel driver. There's so many of you guys that feel exactly the same way. That's why we have such a huge audience. I found out the other day that in the last calendar year, we had over 500 million views across our platforms and over 1 billion minutes have been watched on YouTube. Now, they're crazy statistics. I'm so proud of the 4Wheel Drive 24/7 brand. Now, I get to meet a lot of you guys out on the road, out on the tracks, at 4Wheel Drive shows, and one thing that I'm super proud about is not how many views we have on social media or on YouTube or how many subscribers we might have. That's really cool, and it's, you know, it shows just how successful the brand is. But what I love seeing is families who have been inspired by us to take their families off-road. I get a lot of kids that come up and say, you know, we went to Fraser Island last year, it was a trip of a lifetime. Parents that have done their first 4-wheel drive trip because of 4-wheel drive 24/7. And when you get a lot of viewers like we do and a lot of subscribers, you form a very big, passionate 4-wheel drive community, and that's what we've built. And it's just so cool seeing people get outside using their 4-wheel drives for what they're built for and creating memories. So when we made the transition from magazines to YouTube, I mean, it was very daunting. We'd been doing 4-wheel drive content at this stage for a good 15 years, but to take it on a completely different platform, i.e. YouTube, we were sort of diving into the unknowns. One of our first trips on YouTube was a trip to Fraser Island. Now, Fraser Island is a place that films really well. You get beautiful blue skies, lovely beaches, perfect swimming holes, some epic fishing. I mean, what could go wrong? Our very first time doing it for YouTube, however, we had a huge category cyclone come through and they're actually evacuating people off the beach. And we're trying to make a 4-wheel drive YouTube show. Now, this is when I guess I knew we were onto something here, because after that show, it blew up. It got a stack of views, and I knew that YouTube was the right platform because finally people don't have to go down to the newsagents, pay $10 for a magazine. They can just jump on their computer and get our content for free. And I think that really resonated with people. That's when I knew when the views for that one went absolutely crazy, despite the crazy weather we had, that we're onto something. I guess when you are filming 4-wheel drive content, you've got to expect the unexpected, and we've had so many scenarios whereby we really thought we wouldn't be able to get a video out of it. The Fraser Island one is a good example when a cyclone came through. Another time down in Tasmania, I thought definitely I'm going to be written out of the show in about the first 5 minutes because I was driving sooty. You might remember this one when I had an engine go kabang. So I've driven all the way down to Tasmania. It's worked a treat. I get into the first bog hole when we first press the red button, start recording our Tasmanian video. The engine goes kaput on the first bog hole, and I thought, you know what, that is me out of the show. If you do an engine, it's not exactly you're going to find a replacement too easily. You're certainly not going to be able to rebuild it. The show must go on. That's okay. I might ride in with someone else, or you know what, maybe we'll just pull the stumps up and off we go. First failed 4-wheel drive 24/7 show. But it wasn't the case. We managed to track down a 1HZ, and thanks to the help of some local legends down there, we were able to actually do a conversion with a 1HZ into sooty. Now, we only kept it in there for about 2 weeks or so. We did the show, got the engine rebuilt and swapped the 1HZ back with the 1HDT, and Bob's your uncle. I guess what I'm saying is there's been so many times where things don't go to plan on the 4-wheel drive 24/7 shoots that you come very close to not being able to get a video, but at the same time, it sometimes makes some of the best 4-wheel drive content you've ever seen. I think there's a bit of a misconception out there that we sometimes put it on for the cameras. Right? We come up to an obstacle, it's scary, you get to see a bit of our emotion really come through the screen. Now, what I want to say is, you know, I wish I could act the other way, be super cool, calm and collected about every challenge, but the truth of the matter is, still to this day, I get scared about certain tracks, and there's probably one in particular. I'm talking about when I was down in Tasmania on the Climbys track.
Oh, this feels sketchy!
On that particular challenge, it was so close for that vehicle rolling off the cliff, and it was just about to get me unstuck on probably the scariest challenge I've ever seen in Australia.
Yeah, it shook me, man. I'm turning it off. I'm getting out and having a walk.
We push the limits just about every single day off-road. Certainly, I push the limits for my own skill set, I know that, but you do it because you love it, you do it because you're passionate about it, and also you're a little not right in the head. But at the end of the day, I still get scared about it, and I think you're only human if you do. Now, coming from a bloke whose only vehicle was a dirty old Suzuki Sierra to a bloke who's got all his dream four-wheel drives, I'm a very lucky fella. If I had to narrow it down to one vehicle though I love the most, I'll be real with you guys, it's probably the Dirty 30. That vehicle, I just love it. I love the look of it, and I love the fact that I created so many memories in it. I've told this story a million times. We've gone into a very remote station and uncovered a track. It's taken us 6 days to do about 60 kilometres. That vehicle was so badly beaten up, the transmission had broken, there was dents in every panel, you name it mechanically, it was busted on that vehicle. In fact, the vehicle was actually written off. So the original Dirty 30 was actually a write-off that I bought back off the insurance company and chopped it in half into a ute, and the Dirty 30 was born. It's a tribute to my whole career, that one vehicle. And when you start to make memories in a vehicle like that, they're not just, you know, some vehicle with four wheels that's designed to get you from A to B. They're a lot more than that. They take on a whole new persona and they become part of you. Now you think doing this for a good 20 plus years and maybe driving around Australia a dozen or so times, you wouldn't really be making too many mistakes. Absolutely incorrect. I still make mistakes just like I did when I was a 17-year-old on my P plates. One of the mistakes I've probably made early on, which I see a lot of people doing this, is caring too much about what modifications you've got to your vehicle. Now get this for a joke, right? One of the first mods I did on my Suzuki Sierra was I bought an exhaust system for it. Now keep in mind it's a 1.3 litre petrol motor, and I've spent probably the best part of $1,000 on an exhaust for a $3,000 vehicle. Doesn't make sense when you look at it like that, does it? But at the time, had to be done. That did not help me get to a better campsite. That did not help me pick up chicks. In fact, it did nothing but give me probably poor hearing in my later life. So what I'm getting at here, if I can give you a little bit of advice, especially the young folk out there, is don't worry too much about the mods. Now it's even harder in today's day and age because you see fancy rigs all the time. There's this big thing called Instagram and Facebook where everybody's trying to one-up each other online to try and have the best vehicles. Forget all that. Trust me, concentrate on just enjoying your rig. You'll get so much more out of it. What would I want my legacy to be in the four-wheel drive scene? Nothing too poetic or out there. Probably, if I could be known for giving inspiration for families to get outside and explore Australia, then I reckon my job's done. At the end of the day, that's what we do. We provide a bit of entertainment, a little bit of know-how, but most importantly, hopefully, the inspiration to get out of your shed, get out of your house, take your family, take your dogs, and get out there and camp and four-wheel drive, fish, hunt, and explore the real Australia. Well, there you go. Hopefully that's a different side of me or a lot of new information you probably didn't know about me from my private life, behind the scenes, and of course back in the day before YouTube was around. Of course though, if you've got any questions I didn't cover properly or you want to know more, put them down in the comments below. I'm going to personally go through those ones and answer the ones I can to the best of my ability. So make sure you do that if you want to know more. And I just want to take this second to thank you guys. I mean, we've got just on 1.3 million subscribers, and without the support of you guys, we certainly wouldn't have a YouTube channel, and I certainly wouldn't have had the career I've had to date. I mean, for the guys that have been following me from the early magazine days to, of course, everyone on YouTube, I just want to say a massive thank you for supporting us. And every time you hit that subscribe button, you know, it's not lost on me. It means the absolute world. It means that you love our content and allows us to keep doing what we love doing and bringing you the best four-wheel drive content, I think, on the planet. Cheers, guys.